Do you realize how sometimes school will go on vacation and you're about to go back home, and you feel like you don't want to go home because you will miss your friends, but you have to go because your parents will be expecting you. Yes, sometimes such is life. In fact, when school, for some people, when they finish with the WASSCE and they are done with their SHS education and they're going back home, some cry. Some cry because they are going to miss the school, they are going to miss the school environment, they are going to miss how some of their colleagues will be fooling in class and they'll be laughing and things. So, such is life. But you still have to go home because that chapter of your life has ended and you need to continue with the journey. The same thing happened to Jesus when he was about to go back to his Father in heaven. He looked at the disciples and then he realized that he was going to miss them. He was going to miss that physical presence with them, being with them, teaching them, going for evangelism together, preaching the gospel, the challenges they were facing together and how he was encouraging them, the meals they had together, the eating, the high moments and the low moments they had together. He was going to miss it. So he looked at Peter, James, and John, and he was being emotional. The Bible said that he was sorrowful because he was going to miss them. This is where the girls will say, "Oh, Jesus will miss the disciples." Yes, that was the situation in the garden of Gethsemane. So that's the location of the garden, Gethsemane, and is at the foot of Mount Olivet. So this is the introduction to the trials of Jesus. There are a series of things. From here, he'll be taken to Caiaphas, then from there to Pilate, and he'll be condemned to death. So Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane. He was going to pray. Jesus had a personal prayer life. From Mark 1:35, Bible says that he went out very early in the morning. He went out of the house and went to a solitary place, and then he went to pray. Before he chose his disciples, Jesus prayed. And this time around, he's going to face, like I said, the most challenging aspect of his life. And so he had to pray for strength to be able to go through it. It wasn't an easy task. And so when he got there, he told Peter, James, and John that, "Wait for me here while I go yonder to go and pray." There are situations in life that you alone understand what you are going through. So it's good to pray in the church or a corporate prayer meeting, but it is also good that you cultivate that personal prayer life where you talk to God personally, you pour your heart before God in your closet. It builds you more as a Christian, and that's what exactly Jesus was doing. In fact, if they were to hear his prayer topic, they might have discouraged him from praying because they didn't want him to die in the first place. So he told them that, wait here whilst I go yonder and pray. But watch with me, watch with me. So pray with me. So have your prayer meeting. In fact, you people are three, so it's easier to even pray when you are two or more. So he went there, he prayed, and the prayer topic was that, "Father, if possible, let this cup pass me by. Yet not my will, but your will be done." And so the cup, sometimes in objectives, they ask, the cup here, what does it represent? And it represents the death of Jesus or the agony that he was about to go through. So that was the first prayer topic. And he came back and he found the disciples sleeping. Of course, they have nothing to lose at that moment. They are not the ones going to die, so they will be sleeping. And he woke them up and he told Peter, I don't know why this was to Peter. Maybe because he was the one who was about to be tempted or tried. His denials. We'll talk about his denials in the next video. So he told Peter specifically that, could you not watch with me for 1 hour? Just 1 hour. So that simple prayer topic, Father, if possible, let this cup pass me by. Yet not my will, but your will, was 1 hour of prayer. You can imagine. No wonder in the book of Luke says that his sweat was like blood. Luke's account is not in the syllabus. But you could see the contention, it wasn't an easy task. Imagine you're about to die and you know that tomorrow I'm going to put to death on the cross. Charlie, it's not easy. And you see how it's going to happen. Your own creation, people who were created through you. Colossians 1:15 says the fact that everything was created by him, through him, and for him. And your own creation is going to kill you. It's not an easy experience. Imagine me. My students are going to beat me and put me to death on the cross, and I see it. Hey! And that's my student. I'm not the one who being created them. So you can imagine what Jesus was about to face. No wonder he was telling God that, if possible, let this cup pass me by. It wasn't an easy task, but he was willing to fulfill the scriptures. So for Jesus, he was willing to die to save you and I. Yes, so he told them that watch and pray so that you don't fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So we can say that according to Jesus, one of the best ways to overcome temptation is prayer. And sometimes you add fasting, ways of overcoming temptation. You can watch the video on temptation too, and you will get it. So watch and pray so that you don't enter into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And he went again praying that, Father, if this cup cannot pass me by unless I drink it, let your will be done. Yes, that's the second prayer topic. And he came back and found them sleeping again for the second time, but he didn't wake them up. Bible said that their eyes were heavy, so they were sleeping. He went back the third time and prayed, saying the same words, same prayer topic. He prayed it for the third time. And when he came back the third time and they were sleeping, he asked, are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Rise up and let us go, for my betrayer is at hand. And right at the time he said that, Almighty Judas Iscariot came with a crowd, with the scribes and the Pharisees and the high priests. They came to the garden. And Judas had already given them a sign that the one that I'll kiss, he is the one you are supposed to arrest. So arrest him and leave the rest. Hey, Judas, smart guy. But later he regretted. So sometimes, you may think you're doing the right thing. Charlie, be careful when you're doing the wrong thing and you think that is the right thing and you are proud of it. Be careful. Later you may regret. And you may not know the consequences that will come. But the day of visitation will definitely come. So be careful. So that's the sign that Judas gave. But then, before they arrested Jesus, one of the disciples removed a sword and cut off the ear of the slave of the high priest. The slave of the high priest. 2022, one of the WASSCE objective tests was saying that whose ear was cut in the Garden of Gethsemane. Can you imagine? And in the possible answers, they have slave of the high priest, they have servant of the chief priest. These are synonymous. So the correct answer is the slave of the high priest. And Jesus rebuked the person who did it and said that, put your sword back into its place, because he who uses the sword will die by the sword. So put it back. And the people seized Jesus. They caught him. And the disciples fled. They all ran away from Jesus. But then before that, he told them that, why do you come with swords and clubs as if you are coming to arrest a thief? Day in and day out, I'm always in the synagogue or the temple preaching and teaching, and you did not seize me. But this is happening just so that the scriptures will be fulfilled. Oh. And he said the same thing to the guy who tried to, in fact, the guy who cut off the ear of the slave. He told him that, do you think that I cannot even call 12 legions of angels? That's innumerable, quantity or number of angels to come and fight for me. Come on, I can't always call my father to send innumerable number of angels to come and fight for me. But how can the scriptures be fulfilled? Yeah, so Jesus allowed himself to be arrested just so that the scriptures will be fulfilled. And so from there, he was taken to the high priest's place, because it was the high priest that sent the people to come and arrest him, obviously. We'll look at the trial before the high priest in our subsequent videos. Just subscribe and then we'll enjoy. So some few subtopics under this. I don't do much of subtopics because it is easier to answer the subtopics. One of the subtopics are reasons why some people forsake their friends. Obviously, you know the answers. Some forsake their friends when their friends need help from them and they are not able to help them. So their friends feel betrayed and so they leave them. Some also betray or forsake their friends because of contagious diseases. So in our time, the recent one is COVID. Also sometimes chicken pox, because you fear that you get the disease, so you want to stay away. That's one of the reasons why people forsake their friends. And then also when the friend is a disgraceful person, if the friend is a troublesome person, so you don't want to associate yourself with a disgraceful person, so they forsake them. Yeah, so these are some of the few reasons why people forsake their friends. Don't forget to subscribe. This has been your CRS teacher, Sir Kwame. There are WASSCE questions on the Gethsemane in the video description. You can take a look at them. If you have any question, you can write in the comment section. Thank you very much.